Hi there and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Whether you've landed on this video because you're tired of the same painful patterns or because something inside you is quietly asking for a better way, you're in the right place. My hope is that this video helps you make sense of the things you've blamed yourself for your whole entire life. Maybe you beat yourself up wondering, why do I keep ending up in the same painful place no matter how hard I try? Have you ever found yourself in yet another argument thinking, why do I react like this? Or maybe you've walked away from a conversation shaking, flooded with regret or shame, wondering, why does this keep happening to me? If you're someone who grew up in an environment where you didn't feel safe emotionally, physically, or both, then conflict might not just be a normal part of your life. It might be wired into your survival system. If conflict keeps repeating, it's not just random. It may be a map of where your nervous system has been trying to protect you. You might even see a trail of failed relationships and broken friendships stretched out behind you, not because you're bad or broken, but because something you're doing, a trauma-driven behavior, has been working behind the scenes. You may not be able to see it yet or control it, but the good news is you can most definitely change it. So let's talk about why fighting becomes a pattern for trauma survivors and how to finally break free from it. Not through shame, not by trying to force yourself to just stop, but by understanding what's actually going on beneath the surface and then giving yourself the compassion and tools you've always deserved. By the end of this video, you'll understand what's really happening inside of you and how to begin interrupting trauma-driven conflict in a way that feels safe, honest, and empowering to you. My name is Carrie McKenna-Reese. I'm a trauma survivor. I am also a trauma recovery coach and an accredited complex trauma instructor, helping others who've been through hell understand why they feel what they feel, why they react the way they do, and most importantly, how to start healing in ways that feel grounded, compassionate, and real. Because healing isn't about becoming someone new, it's about finally coming home to who you've always been. It's underneath the pain, beneath all that. It's your place of truth, your innermost wisdom, strength, and power. It's reclaiming the parts of you that trauma has hidden but cannot destroy. What's important to know here is that trauma doesn't just affect your memories, it rewires your nervous system. If you were neglected as a child, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, verbally, or psychologically abused, if you lived in the chaos of unpredictable parents or caregivers, then chances are your brain developed in survival mode, altering the neural pathways between your brain and your nervous system. Now, these altered pathways, they influence how we experience the world and cause us to view ordinary experiences through a lens of trauma and fear. And these neuro patterns create automatic unconscious responses kicking in when your body believes it's in danger, even if a threat doesn't actually exist. Now, we're all born with natural built-in survival mechanisms of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. However, when trauma is chronic or unresolved, we can get stuck in those states, especially in hypervigilance, constantly scanning for danger and living as if the next threat is just around the corner. Fear becomes our baseline, not because we choose it, but because our nervous system never got to feel safe enough to let go. Now, before we dive into tools for change, it helps to understand what your nervous system might be doing beneath the surface. Let's start with one of the most recognizable trauma responses: fight. We're not just talking about yelling or screaming. Fighting can look like shutting someone down, being overly defensive, picking at details, trying to control the conversation, or needing to be right so you don't feel small or unsafe. The fight response is a way your nervous system tries to protect you. It says, If I push you away, I can't be abandoned. If I defend myself first, I won't be humiliated. If I stay angry, I won't feel sadness underneath. When you understand that trauma makes you prone to conflict, not because you're broken, dramatic, or mean, but because your body is trying to survive an emotional threat using tools you learned in childhood, that alone is worth pausing for. Now, remember that word pause here because we're going to reflect back on it in a bit. Most people feel deep shame after conflict, especially those of us with complex trauma. We think things like, I'm too much. Why can't I just be calm like other people? Maybe I'm toxic. But here's the truth. You're not your trauma responses. You are someone who learned to fight because once upon a time, it was the only way to feel even a little bit safe. Now, I want you to hear this next part clearly. You don't need more self-discipline. You don't need to try harder to be nice. You need healing. You need understanding. You need tools that are rooted in compassion, tools that reflect who you are, not condemnation. Even the behaviors we now regret, like going silent or shutting down, were often our best attempts at safety. They were crude boundaries, not meant to harm, but to protect us in moments when we didn't know how else to cope. Healing doesn't always need grand gestures. Sometimes it starts with an honest moment, plain, gentle, said quietly and with care. You might be surprised to find that the magic you've been looking for is honesty, spoken in a way that doesn't perform, but simply tells the truth. If you're still here, it means you're ready to meet yourself with something new, something softer, steadier, and safer than what you learned as a child. So, how do we begin to shift this? As a complex trauma survivor myself, on my healing journey, before I could use healthier tools, I noticed I usually did one of four things. I'd shut down, I'd lash out, I'd give in, or I'd disappear. Now, these patterns showed up as emotional dysregulation where I'd lose my composure, I'd people please, I'd cave in to keep the peace, I'd avoid, run away from discomfort, and become a basket full of emotional spaghetti, blowing up when I couldn't contain the overwhelm anymore. So let me share three things that will help. We'll begin with the body because your nervous system always speaks first. You don't have to master these all at once. Just pick one that feels most doable today and start there. Number one, slow down your body before your words. This is that pause I mentioned earlier. When you're in a fight response, your body is hijacked by adrenaline and cortisol. You cannot think clearly when you're in that state. That's because the part of your brain response for logic, reasoning, and problem solving, the prefrontal cortex, it goes offline temporarily. Your survival brain then takes over and your body becomes laser focused on staying safe, not on staying connected. In this state, empathy, curiosity, and compromise are nearly impossible. Pausing to do a grounding technique like placing your feet firmly on the floor and feeling your weight, breathing in slowly for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 6, or noticing 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, can really be helpful. It may feel small, but these techniques bring your nervous system out of a survival mode and back into your authentic self, the part of you that can respond with clarity and not just react. I used to imagine myself pushing this big red pause button, and then I'd ask myself, am I safe right now? This simple question is so powerful because it speaks directly to the part of your nervous system that's bracing for danger, whether or not the danger is truly there. And when I can answer yes to that question, it opened a window of calm. And in that moment, I could breathe, I could shift from survival mode to self-awareness. And from there, I could ask myself, what do I really need right now? I hope that you'll try this yourself. These questions they're not just a technique, they're a lifeline back to your grounded adult self, a part of you that no longer has to fight to be protected because you're learning how to protect yourself and heal your inner child with presence, not panic. Okay, so number 2, learn to recognize the pre-conflict feeling. There's almost always a moment just before the eruption when your body is whispering a warning. Maybe your chest tightens, your shoulder rises, your jaw clenches. It's subtle, but it's there. That moment is sacred. It's your nervous system signaling something doesn't feel safe. It's not just a physical reaction, it's a message from your inner world, a flicker of fear, a younger part of you bracing for impact, a soul level question rising up. Am I safe? Am I heard? Am I valued? Do I matter? Does who I am get to exist in this moment without being shamed, silenced, or abandoned? When you can pause, I mean, really hit that pause button, name that warning. This is my fight response showing up. You interrupt the trauma script that is running the show. You reclaim the moment. You give yourself the power not just to react, but to choose. This is where you begin to honor your truth without going to war to protect it. So, number 3, give your inner child a voice. Most of our conflict patterns come from the younger parts of us that never felt safe. Instead of shaming yourself for how you respond, ask yourself, what part of me felt threatened just now? What did that part of me need but not get? Can I get myself that now in this moment? Our needs are so very important in our day-to-day life. So you may find that your need to fight fades when your nervous system finally feels held instead of under attack. And if you don't know the answers to these questions right away, that's okay. This is very common for trauma survivors. However, the act of asking these questions is healing in itself. In my early 20s, I used to sit down every night and journal about my interactions with others during the day. I would recall when I didn't feel safe and ask myself these very questions. It gave me a great awareness of who I authentically am, my needs, and the boundaries I needed to set around those needs. And once I began honoring those boundaries, not just with others, but with myself, I started to notice something else. And that is the way I approached conflict. It began to shift because healing isn't just about what happened then, it's about how we show up now for ourselves in the moments that used to unravel us. When your inner child trusts that your adult self can show up with presence, not panic, that's when true healing begins. If no one has told you this before, you're not crazy for reacting the way you do. You're not too broken to heal. You're not actually broken at all. Your brain and body responded normally to some very abnormal situations in your childhood. It did what it needed to do to keep you alive, and that is absolutely incredible. You don't need to be perfect today to be loved. You are someone who learned to survive, and now you're learning to live on your terms and in the way you need to be loved. Conflicts are inevitable. You actually need to be good at conflict if you're going to have lasting relationships. And being good at conflict doesn't mean being aggressive. It means knowing how to stay regulated, how to speak the truth without harm, and how to repair when things go wrong. Stopping the fight doesn't mean you become passive or you let others walk all over you. It means you learn how to speak your truth without your nervous system needing to scream it. It means you become safe in your own body, safe enough to stay, to listen, and to connect. And that is where real freedom begins. Now, I encourage you to let this next part really land. You're not behind, you're not too late. You're actually where your healing begins right now. You can start small, you can begin again and again. You can speak your truth quietly, confidently, and with love. That kind of power, no trauma can take from you. This is how you stop fighting without abandoning yourself. Thank you so much for watching. If this video spoke to you, please share it with someone else who might need to hear these words. We never know who's quietly struggling on the other side of the screen. And if you want more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's an honor to walk this healing path with you.